Hello, everyone, and welcome to tonight's Get in Tune. I'm Michael Gracia, and I have a wonderful show planned. But first, let's not forget today is Wiz Day, right? At the Wiz Comic. Where are you? There you are. On both Instagram and Facebook, new strip every Wednesday morning by 9 a.m. Eastern. Make sure you go to Facebook, not Facebook, I'm sorry, Amazon or Bold Venture Press and pick up your copy of Zorro Swordplay and Romance. I have one story in here. If you pick up, illustrated. I didn't write anything in here. If you go to Amazon or Bold Venture Press, you can pick up Zorro's Exploits, which I illustrated 2 stories in. That came out a year or so ago. This is the new one. Also, don't forget on Amazon you can pick up the Whimsical Wiz book and find the Wiz in a Kid in a Comic newspaper. So please visit akidinacomic.com and you can pick up, you can get your copy of the newspaper. All great comics. There's quite a few people in here who are, guests of the show, and there will be more from the newspaper coming on. So let's bring on our guest. Now we have he's a very talented artist. Number one, I'm really impressed by his work. I'm looking at it on Instagram as I turn my head here. But what really caught my eye, and to bring him on the show, because I've been connected with this artist for I don't know how many years now. There's been a couple of probably conversations through like Facebook comments and things, but this is going to be our first time really talking, and I'm excited for that. But what really has piqued my interest in him to bring on the show is his positivity of the work that he's doing, and just how just the person that he is. He I watch his TikTok videos. Such a good guy, so positive, very talented. Let me bring on Ed Smith. Hey, Ed, how you doing?
That was a wonderful intro.
Well, you're welcome. I mean every word of it. I mean,
Thank
I don't
you.
know how long we've been connected on social media for now. I know we've talked a couple of times
Yeah.
through mostly comments, like whether it's on your work, my work, or something like that. But yeah, like lately I've been watching your TikTok videos.
Really?
And yeah, I'll go through it. I believe I follow you on there, or you just came up on my feed because of cartoonists or
Yeah,
whatever.
I'll hashtag FYP because I found out that's a trick. You just pop
Yeah,
up in everybody's feed.
that's good. I haven't posted on Facebook in a while. I mean TikTok in a while, so I'll have to use that next time. But yeah, I mean, you were talking recently about, and we can talk about this later.
No, we can talk
But
about it now. This is your
well,
show.
I have other questions I want to ask you first. But
Okay. All
what
right.
it really was the positivity you were showing when you were talking about how you went to a show, you went to a convention, brought your portfolio,
Yep.
and talked to someone at Marvel,
Huge guy.
huge guy at Marvel, that
Yep.
that gave you some nice feedback,
He did.
and you left with his business card, which is always
Which
a
I
positive
did.
thing.
Oh, I'm still kind of really excited about that.
Yeah. So before we get to that story, I want to
Okay.
learn about you. I want to learn about, what got you into comics, who are some of your inspirations, all that stuff. Like we're going to go through a lot, but let's see. We got Dan saying, "Hey,
Ooh,
there he
there.
is," and huge guy at Marvel. I cracked it. You talked to the Hulk.
I did. And true to form, he smashed me. True to form, he smashed me.
That's
He
awesome.
got smashed by the Hulk. Geez, where do you want to start? I
Well,
mean, I
okay.
have
What?
like real early life memories of drawing cartoons.
Well, talk to me about. Tell me about
Okay,
like
the
was it
first
newspaper
time.
strips? Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
What? No, what was your question
No, I
going
was
to be?
going
I
to
don't
say,
want to
was it like
interrupt.
newspaper strips, comic books, animated cartoons? Like, what was it that sparked your interest and then got you drawing?
Well, I was not to give away the store, but I was born in the 70s, the early 70s. I was
Okay.
born in 74. And I was always energetic and I was always getting into trouble. My earliest memory of drawing, I had a red crayon and I drew on my wall. And being that this was the 70s and Kubrick probably came out with The Shining around that time, I don't think me drawing on my wall was really happily accepted by my parents. They probably thought they were going to rename me Danny, but that's another story for Halloween. I didn't start talking to my finger, if anybody wants to know. But after that, my memories of drawing are sitting at the kitchen table with my mother. Back then, they didn't have plastic grocery bags, they had paper bags. And my parents would shop. I grew up in Rhode Island, I grew up in Providence.
Okay.
So there was a local grocery store chain called Almax. And my mom would constantly have paper bags on hand, a lot like people do with Walmart bags nowadays.
Mhm.
But my mom would cut open the Almax bags and just spread them out on the kitchen table. And we'd use some of the industrial markers that my dad brought home from work. And she would draw with me. She drew like the 3 circles for Mickey Mouse's head. She'd show me how to draw cubes. And just there was a character called Lester Lightbulb. I guess the local electric company had a little cartoon guy and she would show me how to draw him. So it was really exciting for me to be sitting at the kitchen table and drawing with my mommy. And it became a thing. It became a really big source of happiness for me. Now, we lived in a New England multifamily home. So while we lived on the 3rd floor, my cousin Scott lived on the 1st floor. Now, Scott had a grandfather that lived 2 towns over, and his grandfather would collect all sorts of comics. And when he had enough, or he didn't want to read them anymore, he would give them to Scott. So one day in kindergarten, I was in the basement and they had like lunch, or not lunch, breakfast, where I was having breakfast. And like I said, I was an inquisitive kid. I reached inside of this padding that was around one of the supports and pulled out a comic book. It was all folded up and dog-eared, and I opened it up, and it was Batman, if I can remember right. And
Let's give it a second. He froze. I don't know if you can hear me. Where it's such a good part of the story, too. Let me message him. Oh, there we go.
Okay, great. I'm glad I caught back up.
Yeah.
So it was amazing because the Super Friends were on at that time. So here I'm reading like the extra adventures of Batman that weren't on the Super Friends. So I go from the transition of animation to comic books. And my cousin living on the 1st floor is like, yeah, I've got tons of these things. So I'm reading them voraciously. I'm just like reading them. I'm reading guys like Deco, like Bernie Wrightson, of course, Kirby. I mean, how can you not? But all of the house styles of that day, like Buscema and all the Marvel guys. And I, just telling this story, I think about. They were, when I my haircut, they were there. Mm-hmm. When I go to, when I'd go to school, other kids would have comic books. When I'd, just wherever I went, comic books and cartoons. And my mom helping me, teaching me more or less how to draw. And I just wanted that happiness all the time. And, spoiler alert, my parents divorced early and my mom wasn't in the house anymore. So I craved that happiness and that comfort that came from sitting at the kitchen table and drawing with mommy. So I just started copying comic books. I watched a lot of Hanna-Barbera stuff. I started copying Hanna-Barbera cartoons. And as I grew older, I didn't understand how to do things. I understood that they were done, so I just copied what I saw, and I remembered what my hand did in order to make those same lines that I would catch in the comic books that I would see.
Yeah. No,
So
yeah, go ahead.
just mostly self-taught, mostly
Yeah.
self-taught.
Yeah. I think that's how a lot of artists are. I've been drawing since I can hold a pencil myself. My earliest memory is actually Hanna-Barbera cartoons.
Which one?
Uh, McGilla
Mine was
Gorilla.
Pixie and Dixie.
That wasn't part of the McGilla Gorilla show, I don't think. Right? It was
No.
Ricochet Rabbit and
Secret Squirrel? No, Secret Squirrel was on like Banana Splits.
was that it? I don't, because Banana Splits. I was born in '76. I'm only 2 years younger.
Okay.
So I'm sure we watched a lot of the same stuff, but Banana Splits, I have very little memory of actually watching. I have memory of trying to find it on like YouTube and bootlegs back in the.
You would have loved it. It was great.
Yeah. And this is, I mean, one of my all-time favorite shows is a $6 Million Man, which started, I think, in '74. I wasn't even born yet when it was on, and I'm actually rewatching it on the Peacock app right now. But I have season 5. Like, what I do is I'll watch a season, take a break, watch something else, go back to it. So I'm on my break of between season 4 and season 5 right now. But
you know what you want to check out as an aside from this interview? I think it's Peacock. I think Peacock has it. You want to check out Kolchak.
Yeah, no. That's on my list. That's on my
love
list.
That show.
Yeah.
Loved it. And like the premise, if I remember being a kid back then, Kolchak's really scary. But as an adult, you watch it and you're like, this is absolutely ridiculous. Like, he's a reporter. He finds a monster and figures it out, and then he has to prove it, but he can't because all of the proof has disappeared now. So it's basically like, see, Dan knows what he's talking about. Yeah. Kolchak's great.
I have watched a few episodes in the past, but I haven't watched it enough to really know the series.
You'll love it.
Yeah, it was on the list, but like you, when I saw cartoons and comics, I mean, and they were at my cousin's house too. I remember reading them because the Super Friends were there, and I saw the first series. I think like the first actual story arc I read was Crisis on Infinite Earth.
Wow!
And I'm a big DC guy. I like both Marvel and DC. Actually, today, I checked out Amazon Prime Day, and Moon Knight Epic Collection was down, like the epics that they're doing Marvel now was at $21 or $23. I'm like, they're normally like $50. How do you beat that? So
that's a nice discount.
Yeah, so I picked that up along with Steve Ditko's sci-fi comics, and they're it was like $10 for the collection.
What? It's a Ditko. It's only $10.
Yeah. So I was like, okay. So that was my Amazon purchase. Nothing about Amazon Prime Day doing anything like with their specials. I just went and said, what's on my Amazon wish list? What's gone down in price?
Just got to run down the list. Mine is mostly Carl Barks duck stuff. Like
I got
Uncle Scrooge, nephews.
Yeah, I've got so much. Well, I've got a good 3 or 4 Carl Barks over there. Some Don Rosa. A few of the Mickey Mouse stories with the Phantom Blot that who was a Fantagraphic put out a few years. So that's what I'm collecting there on that. I mean, my whole studio. If I switch cameras and just a little, it's a mess right now. I'm really cleaning, like doing a deep cleaning.
It's not a mess. It's a little disorganized.
Oh no! Someone's coming over this weekend to help me, so I can help them shoot a video. So it's getting a deep clean.
Oh, okay.
Right. So yeah, it's. But yeah, I'm like going through my trades and where should I put this? Just throw it under the drawing table. Just throw it on. That's kind of what's going on. But yeah, no. So it was a very similar background. I mean, I have Hanna-Barbera stuff up here. I have what was it? Was it the Funtastic World of Hanna-Barbera show
Yep,
that they
the
had?
Fantastic World of.
Yeah, with like where they showed all the superheroes, Space Ghost, Shazam, Fantastic Four, all
Yeah.
up there. So I have a nice piece of that. Behind me, I took them down to put actually indie comic artwork up.
Really?
Yeah,
Like original indie comic artwork, or you're like, I just bought print.
Prince. Here, let me
Okay.
switch cameras. I'll give you a quick view here. Settings, camera. It's going to change a little bit in the lighting, you guys. So
Okay, you got the superpowers artwork up there.
whoops. I'm going to give myself full screen so you can see it first.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, so behind me is, well, actually I do have it's a Mort Walker autograph. The Pac-Man lights are blocking it. And same thing with the Simpsons. But next to the Simpsons is Captain Harlock, done by a friend of mine. I'm a big like Captain Harlock fan. Done by a friend of mine, Enoch, who has been on the show. If you check out Enoch Easel,
Okay.
that on Instagram, you'll find his work. Next to him, I can't remember the character.
That Bob Camp?
Yeah, I just got that.
He is such a great guy.
Yeah. I spent so much time chatting with him at a show. But next to what's it called? Next to Captain Harlock is a video game character, which I'm blanking on who it is, but it was done by my friend JM DeSantis, who look up JM it's DeRitis, I think his Instagram handle is.
Okay.
Underneath that's Bob Camp. It's a Ren and Stimpy piece.
Of course.
Then next to that is Mike Belcher's Man in the Mask.
Oh.
And next to that is Jay Piscopo's. It's a print of all public domain characters that he was working on, and he did a book called The Last Dominion, and that, I don't know if that was the cover or a poster, but I got that from him. And Rob Knurl did that mouse with the moon that looks like a cookie. And he's got a
cookie.
Yeah, and it's broken, but you can see the mouse. He's holding a ladder and a piece of the cookie. It's I know you can't see it well from here, but yeah. And here I'll show you. All that is, you could probably see the Uncle Scrooge stuff right there. And,
yeah.
But yeah, so and then this is the mess down here.
Oh, that's work related.
So yeah, I got a bunch of stuff, and then if we go, there's my I got a Calvin and Hobbes piece. You can see the Fantastic
World. That was the title card, wasn't it?
Yeah. I got my Red Hot. Yeah, the dance cycle. Actually, it's Preston Blair.
Really?
Yeah, Preston Blair did the actual dance cycle. It was a Tex Avery cartoon. And if one of my monitors wasn't there, because I have what I call my back cave.
Okay.
So I got this set up here, which is my Cintiq, my laptop, and this monitor, and that's my character.
Your model sheet. I love it.
Yeah, thanks. And then over here is my day job, which are 2 monitors and my PC. So the way it's set up, it's a nice little back cave over there. You can see I got my Flintstones, my Hanna-Barbera.
Did I see a little bit of a Chris Giarrusso? It looked like Amazing Man.
No, Dr. Fate.
Dr. Fate. Okay.
Dr. Fate is my all-time favorite DC superhero after Superman.
Chris's name keeps coming up. When I was talking to that Marvel person, he had mentioned Chris.
Really?
And I was like, oh, yeah, I know Chris. Chris is a great guy. We did a drink and draw together, and he left some sketches behind, and I actually took them home, and they're on my wall. It's Captain America and Spider-Man. I think I gave Spider-Man to my son. But I definitely kept Cap. I'm not giving Cap away.
All right, I switched back so that I don't have such a mess behind me.
I don't think it's a mess. I think it's a lot of reference material. That's what I think.
That's a good way of putting it. Yeah, I got a lot of stuff here. But yeah,
that final Snorkosaurus on your bookshelf too, by the way.
Yeah, that actually, my cousin got that for me. I brought him to a convention, and that was a thank you for bringing him to a con with me.
Wow. Hey, let me know if your cousin wants to go to any conventions in here around here. I'll be more than happy to take him.
Yeah, no, because I said, I go, if I do well at the show, that I'm buying that, and it's a old Funko Dino
It's
Bank.
a beautiful piece.
Oh yeah, I
It's
love
so
it.
beautiful.
I love it, and I didn't make the show. I'm not going to knock which show it was or anything, because the guy who runs it's a good guy. It just wasn't a good show that day, and I did not do enough to warrant buying it. Like I have my basically my rule is, if I do a show, I don't purchase anything. If I'm walking a show, that's my time to spend money. So, but if I did well, I would have been like, okay, I'm going to treat myself, because how often do I
Of
see
course.
something like that? And then as a thank you, my cousin bought that for me, and the same cousin who had the comic books. So
he knew what he was getting into.
Yeah. It was a good thing. Anyway, we're sidetracking too much about me. This might be my show, but you are the star tonight, so let's get back to you. So you grew up basically the same way, almost the same way I did, in how you got into art and into comics and stuff. It's pretty cool. Do you have a favorite character or favorite artist, someone you go to and look at a lot?
My favorite characters, honestly, there's Captain America, and there's Captain Marvel, who's Shazam.
Okay.
And there's just something about, and I thought about this for a while, like, why do I like these characters? And there's just something about a guy who starts out not being able to help people and to want to do the right thing, but through perseverance and luck of the draw, he becomes able to do that, and that's all he does. Yeah. That's the mark of Captain America, is that he's the guy that always helps people who can't be helped, and he always does the right thing.
Yeah.
And then with Shazam, it's a kid who's given the power of a god. And what does he do with it? He takes that power, and he's not robbing candy stores or stealing Transformers or anything. He's doing good things. He's like becoming a good person. And I think that's a good direction that I see in that character. Now, as far as looking at artists, I look at a bunch of artists. Yeah. It really depends on what the work that I'm working on calls for, because sometimes I'll get stuck, or sometimes I have no ideas, but I know based on the genre of whatever it is I'm working on, I look at that artist like, oh, you're going to do a piece that's very it's dramatic, and it's going to be suspenseful, and it's going to border on like horror. And okay, I'm looking at Len Wein, I'm looking at Bernie Wrightson. Yeah. I'm going to look at Jack Davis. Like, a lot of people don't understand it, but Jack Davis, this guy knew what he was doing. Yeah. Sure, he worked for Mad, and he did a lot of funny stuff, but you look at all of his commercial work, you look at the work he did for himself, all that stuff's really good.
Yeah.
Play of like dark and light and texture. And I look to people like that. When it comes to really emotional stuff, I'll lean towards Will Eisner. I'll look at what's that guy that just recently, is it Michael Golden? The Captain America artist that recently passed away, that's really close to my age, which made me sit up and pay attention to what my doctor's doing.
Was it Michael Goldman? I don't remember, but
if
I know his work.
Goldman hasn't passed away, I swear to you, sir, I'm not wishing you.
And that's why the internet exists.
Yeah, you're right. It's the guy that passed away that drew Captain America. And he was.
I'm sorry, I just typed in his name, and I didn't mean to sigh. It's just that's what I do.
No, it's It's the stress of having to wait for the internet to catch up to what your synapses and dendrites are trying
Doesn't
to
say
do.
anything about his death.
No, not Michael Golden. Then it wasn't Michael Golden.
Yeah.
It was the artist who recently passed away. And yeah, I look a lot towards those guys for emotion. Oh, McGuire too, the guy that did all of those JSA covers, and that guy's got a really good hold on facial expressions and emoting. John Cassaday, that's his name. Thanks, Dan.
Yeah.
It's not Michael Golden. I'm sorry, Mr. Golden.
Yeah, no, I mean, I look at his, but I look a lot at his like Bucky O'Hare.
Yeah.
Like stuff. I have one of those little digest like trades of Bucky O'Hare somewhere in this room.
Oh, there's also another person that I look for. Look at his work for layouts, and I look at his work for flow of the page and the way things balance. Howard Chaykin.
Oh,
Howard Chaykin.
Yeah.
And that's getting drummed into me because my editor is an ex-assistant for Howard Chaykin. So she's like, we're going to make you a comic book man yet. And she'll explain things to me. It's with the really great relationship that I have with my editor is that she'll tell me which direction she wants me to take.
Oh, froze again if you can hear me.
Said so. Tell me to do this because she said so.
Wait, let's wait a moment.
How about
all right, I'm sorry. You froze throughout almost your entire explanation there. So can you just please repeat?
My
what
editor's
you said about
amazing in that she doesn't tell me do this because I said so, and it's never aggressively. It's always friendly and it's always professionally. She'll tell me I need this done because this is the result you're going to get, and this is why you're going to get that result. And what I find is when you get coached that way, if you understand why you do things and the result that you're going to get because of doing it that way, it's easier for you to do it in the future. And, if you can find shortcuts or a better way to do it, you know what the end result is and why you're getting there.
Yeah.
Why you head that way. But those guys, just a lot of those guys.
I mean, you named a lot of people who I look at too. I mean, obviously it's the era we grew up in. But let's just say, Dan says the internet doesn't like it when that gets too. Unfortunately, it froze for a bit. But yeah, I mean, you named everyone who's great. I look at all these people too, and I mean, a big one for me, I'd say is Alex Toth. Though I am
man
a fan of that simplicity that he has. But like, if you ever looked at like any of his pencils, they're so like it's not simple. He then fixes that in his inking stage.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's gorgeous. Like he's one of my number one guys to go to.
I really admire him, but the thing of it is, in my head when I'm putting things on paper, everything's bright, and I think it's because grew up on the Hanna-Barbera cartoons.
Yeah.
Alex Toth is like the world is black, and everything I want you to see is highlights. And I agree. But I just can't wrap my head around making the panel black and then just etching out highlights. I just can't. It's so my editor tells me all the time, hey, don't be afraid to use black, okay? Don't be afraid to use it. Like, no, I can do tones and shadows, and we don't have to use too much black, do we? No, don't be afraid. Go back in, add more black.
Yeah.
It's breaking me of my bad habits, and I really appreciate that.
Yeah. No, I love the use of black. It's a great way to hide your mistakes too. So
you're not kidding. You are not kidding. My entire page should be black from now on.
Oh no! Listen, I have your work on another piece here and another page there. I number one, I like your style a lot.
You know I'm gonna cringe if you show my work, right?
Oh, I'm going to though. So,
Ah,
but before we get into your work here, tell me
don't
what.
show that Huckleberry Hound sketch from my Facebook page if you went
Oh,
digging. Don't do that.
no, don't show the Huckleberry Hound.
Do not. It
Oh,
is. It is. Yeah. It's very foul. Very like. What were you thinking when you drew this? You
I
know,
don't think so.
Huckleberry Hound doesn't eat corn.
Okay, you know what? I'm going to share because I just remembered as I was scrolling to this. Um, what is this? This is one of your pieces, and it was a sketch cover, and it was one of my favorite pieces when I saw it a long time ago, and I saw it on Facebook. It was from 2021.
Ooh, dark times. All right, what do you got?
Right here. I'm going to like it now on Instagram, but I
Oh yeah,
love this piece.
man. Yeah, I think around that time I got brush pens.
Mm.
I got a Pentel pocket brush, and I swore to myself that that's what I was going to learn how to use. And what did I do with the? How did I get that? I think it was whiteout that I did with the stars.
Mm.
And I know that's the texture. I had this. It was a white chalk pencil.
Mm.
It came in like a sketch set, and I was like, I'm going to use that. And then the colors are just design markers that I had from the time, like a really rich royal blue and a light powder blue and cardinal, I want to say.
Yeah.
And then that was just a yellow marker.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought it'd be great if like Superman's flying around and well, I'm kind of lost, so I need a map now.
Yeah, I think it cracked me up. It really did. I remember seeing this on Facebook, but
Oh, look at this.
I mean, this is an old, a little Beanie and Cecil here.
Yeah, I was messing around with some gray markers that day, and oh, I was in a real Beanie and Cecil mood.
Yeah, no, looks fantastic here. This right here, what is this? A Back to the Future, very nice.
Oh yeah, I got a buddy who he used to be a cosplayer. His name's Johnny Ruckus, and really loves Back to the Future. And he builds props now. I don't know if anybody went to Granite State Comic Con, but him and his buddy Brian built a series. They 3D printed a series of life-size robots from Futurama, and they painted them, and they were all on display there. They were really great. Yeah, but that's my buddy Johnny Ruckus.
Oh, you got to give me his
Marty.
You got to give me his contact, and I'd love to talk to him. I've had lots of jobs in my carer, and at one point,
really gets upset when I'm excited.
I spent time building puppets. I've done some little props for puppet shows, but they were like marionettes and rod puppets, not like Muppet style puppets. But I do know how to build those. But I was, doing a lot of like mold making and things. I love to talk to people who do things like that. So yeah, I'd love to have him on the show and talk to him about his prop making.
Yeah,
that is great.
And Johnny's a great guy too. As the deadline for the show grew closer, he just started exploding with these ideas. Like, oh, I can build this one. I can build. He built Vincent from the Black Hole.
Really?
Yeah, life size.
Wow.
Yep. And do you remember? I mean, we were the same age. We already established this. Do you remember Shogun Warriors?
Yes.
He built Transor Z. And I think Transor Z is about like 7 or 8 feet tall.
Let me tell you something specifically about Transor Z, because as a kid,
Bobobot was your favorite?
He was. It was one of my favorite cartoons.
It was really great.
It was such a great cartoon. Like it's funny. I actually am developing a manga right now. and it's a tribute to like all that old stuff. Well, technically 2 stories. I plan to probably put it out in one book, but it's because of my love of that stuff. Like, growing up on Battle of the Planets and Transor Z, and I used to draw all that stuff too. And when I was teaching, I used to outlaw like manga and anime style in the classroom because I wanted people to be more marketable and have be versatile in their drawing style. So I would say you can't draw that way. So everyone thought I hated manga, I hated anime, but I love that stuff. and, so
I don't hate it. It's just, if that's your house style, come on, you got to be you got to be flexible.
I mean, you've probably seen what I post online. I do a variety of different things. This was my after dinner warm down sketch. I was watching a YouTube video about the Vigilante comic from the 80s, and I'm like, oh, let's do something, something cool. And I remember, I don't know if you were a fan of it, but back in the 80s, they had the like American Ninja movies.
Yes.
And I'm like, I thought back to that, and military man who's a ninja. So guy was drawing a machine gun in his hand while he has a samurai sword. But yeah, so I was having a lot of fun with that. Let's see here. Get my mouse over. Let's see. I didn't realize the future robots. My brother kept moving. But I had to chew off his ear about talking prop making. And then we've got. I'm sorry, I wouldn't know how to say
Hey, Zayu.
Zayu. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, it looks like that's the pronunciation of it.
Oh, right there in the parentheses. I didn't even notice that. Thank you for popping on. But yeah, no. So we haven't even gotten to like what your first type of work was. What did you do like when you first got into comics? Like illustrating, writing. What were you doing?
I am rubbish as a writer. I can be a pitch man. I can come up with concepts and I can help you tie them together, but I can't write them out. I can't. Yeah. So it's more or less me just, starting out in comics. I've not even really made it yet. I've just kind of been doing my own thing. But when I was looking to get visibility and get out there, I would petition anybody that was working on their own book to let me do a pinup. Let me do this. Let me do that. I've got a couple of variant covers for other people's books that are out there. I had my own series that was written by Ben Goldsmith. It was called Second Place. That was done by Source Point. It was a 4-issue series.
Nice.
It was before I knew how to actually draw comics and how to figure out flows and angles and how to actually set up a page. I'm still working on learning that and mastering it, but back then I had no idea. I think
that's something though that you just are always learning through time. You can always tell a story. As we read, all these people that we were mentioning earlier,
yep.
You're going to see something and you're like, I never saw that before. I love how he does this transition panel. And
I do it all the time now.
Yeah.
The more I learn, the more I look back and I look at other people's work and I say to myself, oh, I never noticed that. Never paid attention to that when I was a kid. Yeah. I remember the story, I remember this issue, but I did not see that little bit of detail that was done in the background.
Yeah.
But pinups, background or pinups, variant covers. My first real taste of working in comics was I met a guy by the name of Rich Woodall, and Rich around here for his Johnny Ray Gun series. And Rich has worked for other publishing houses. I think he's worked for Image. I think he's trying to get into Marvel now. He's done some Turtle stuff. A lot of people know Rich, and a lot of people love Rich. He's actually, I met him when I was friends with, well, I'm still friends, but I went with these owners of a local comic book shop to another shop up north in New Hampshire. And we were going to meet Ed McGuinness.
Okay.
When Ed McGuinness did his Thundercats run.
Yes.
Because I really liked the way he drew. It was like comic book, like primal comic book work mixed with cartoony. And it just spoke to me. And especially Thundercats, because I mean, I grew up on Thundercats. So I get up to meet him, and there was Rich and his inker, Matt Talbot, and they were at a card table, and they were selling their book. They were selling their first issue of Johnny Raygun, which I have 2 of.
Okay.
Very limited. Very limited. I have 2 of them. And I bought them, and I asked Rich and Matt to autograph them, and they did, and they're up on my wall. I have a bunch of signed comics by people that inspire me, and their stories mean something to me. But Rich's book is up there, and I met Ed McGuinness and formed a friendship with Rich. And Rich asked me if I'd like to draw a book for him by the name of Supertopian. It was the life and times of the Supertopian, and the principle was really sound. Just I had a problem with deadlines back then.
Mm-hmm.
So I did a few pages, and then Rich went his way and started his own publishing house. But along the way, knowing Rich, I got an email, and this sounds more bragging in the tone that I just presented it, but one day I got an email from Todd DeZago, and Todd said, "Hey, you're friends with Rich Woodall, and I'm putting together a book, and I wonder if you'd be interested in maybe doing 2 pages for it." And of course, I freak out because it's Todd DeZago. He wrote like a bunch of Spider-Man stuff, and he's worked for Marvel. He's a huge name. He's friends with Craig Russo. So yeah, like I'm fanboying as I'm reading this email. So of course, in best professional manner, I respond with more or less like, hell yes, I want to do 2 pages for you. But it didn't read like that. It was more like, why, thank you for emailing me today, Mr. DeZago. So he tells me what he's doing. He is doing a tribute to I'm tired, so my brain is just failing on me right now. It was a Telos tribute.
Okay.
It was a follow-up to Telos.
Yeah.
And he asked if I would do 2 pages. And I said, absolutely. And he said, okay, when you're ready, I'll give you the script. Send me your thumbnails. I'll approve them. And you get going. And I did. I did my 2 pages. And I thought they came out really well. And when they were colored and lettered, they looked really great. I was working for a sign company at the time, and I printed the 2 pages full size on sign vinyl. So when they go into my portfolio, they won't age, they won't yellow, they'll look beautiful. But he goes, okay, yeah, those look great. Can you just send them to this Dropbox folder? So I send them to the Dropbox folder, and I'm nosy. You know, I'm the inquisitive kid, like I told everybody at the beginning of the hour. So I start backing out and looking at the file structure, and my name is on one of the folders. And I start seeing a bunch of giants whose names are Rob.
Well, we'll never know who that is now.
Tons of guys that I have no business being.
Hold on. Sorry, you got cut again. Let's see.
There we
I'm
go.
sorry. Yeah, you got cut when you said Rob, and then everything went off.
Okay. Rob Mommertz,
Okay.
Chris Sanders,
Mhm.
like that Chris Sanders, Lilo and Stitch, and just a bunch of other names that I have no business being near. And I'm like, I'm going to quietly just deposit these scans of my pages, and I'm going to back out, and I'm going to just, so it printed and it is beautiful. And I still have my copy. Ideally, it was take your copy, sell it. No, I keep my copy and I treat it like a yearbook. Every time I meet one of the artists that's in the book and I don't have their signature, I have them sign it. I want to collect all their signatures. But that was my first professional go round.
Yeah.
Since then, I've done a lot of indie work. I've worked on Hellpug and Velocicock, which was a spin-off from a collectible card game from Silent Mayhem Studios. I did a variant cover for one of the books that was a follow-up to that. Did Second Place. I've worked on stories for Laguna Studios, which they're gathering and they're going to publish those. Really great story. I shouldn't talk too much about it because they own the work for it. But when people see this, they're going to be like, "What? No, Ed didn't draw this. This is too magnificent. This looks." And I'm working on Danger Team, which if folks were to start at the beginning, they would see, even if they knew me from before, they would see in that first page, okay, Ed's getting better. And then as the pages go on, they get better and better and better and better. And now I'm finishing up the first issue. I think I'm 5 pages away from finishing up the first issue.
That's awesome.
When that first issue is done, it's going to be print on demand so folks can buy it. And then it gets sent right to them. Yeah. But the page I'm working on now is just a lot of detail, a lot of characters. There's a lot of stuff going on. So given that and everything else that's going on, the interview and, not this interview, but talking with a guy from Marvel, just tons of stuff. My editor was like, we're going to go on hiatus. You're going to knock this page out, and then the next 3 to 5 are going to flow really well. So
nice. So, well, on that note, let's talk about the Giant Girl Adventures story that you're working on. What you did in the book.
No. We can talk about it. It's just you bringing it up. It really kind of touched off a memory in me that I have a way of stepping in stuff and then just coming out and people are like, how the hell did that happen to you?
Listen, you are really good at what you do. That's how it happens.
I appreciate that. Because I don't know, I have an imposter syndrome where people will tell me, I really like your work. And I'm like, stop. What do you want from me? Yep, listen, there we go.
I think every artist kind of has that. I mean, we are all self-deprecating in a way. We all think our work is terrible. Even I've talked to some people who would be names in the industry, and I'm like, oh, I like that. They're like, really? Look, do you notice how I screwed up here? They do the same stuff we do. We're all self-conscious.
My eye goes right to that.
Yeah. I sent in a picture. There's not the Zorro book I held up at the beginning of the show, but the other one. I did a drawing, and Diego's arm is so thin. He's standing his arms on his hips, and he's watching kids play Zorro. That's the illustration. And he's at this angle, and the perspective of it, I drew the arm so thin, I didn't notice when I turned it in, but now I see it printed. Oh. And I am so angry that I did not catch it before it went to print.
Same thing with Danger Team. I'll beam with pride. Oh, I'm done. This great. This is so awesome. Yeah. And then it goes up on the screen and it's larger. And I'm looking at it. And, oh, man, what did I do? Why didn't I catch that? Yeah. But you have to put your ego aside and realize that it's a work in progress. You made that mistake. You saw it. You're not going to make that mistake again.
Oh, no. I double and triple check. I used to work as an art director.
Okay.
And so I have an eye to point out, to look and see every little detail. When I taught, and I would teach graphic design or something, or just even something as simple as Illustrator, and I saw a point off that no one would ever really know. The students used to hate me when it came down to like review day. They would call me the Simon Cowell of the department, because I caught everything and they thought I was being mean.
You know, I had professors like that when I was in college.
Yeah.
And yeah, as a student, you hate them. But when you graduate and you look back, well, this guy instilled in me what professionals are going to look for when
Yeah.
I get out into the real world.
Yeah.
But it sounded as though you had questions about Giant Girl Adventures.
Yeah, I wanted to, and thank you for bringing that up, because I'm on the website right now, and I went
Yep.
back a few pages. This isn't the most recent page. This is,
Nope.
do you have the date on when it was from? I don't.
What is that? 21 or I think it's 20 or 21. You're on.
Yeah.
What is that?
I don't.
19.
Do you have the page numbers? I don't.
It shows up in the web address bar.
Oh, page 19 right here. Issue 19, page 19. Tell us how you became part of this project, what it's about, and anything else you could tell us about it.
Okay. So Giant Girl Adventures is an independent publishing project. And it's all about this character by the name of Ronnie who gets superpowers by dabbling in morally gray area. And what it does is when she gets the superpowers, she doesn't realize it, but she can shape reality around her. And she's affected tons of things. And I became a fan of this strip, of this book, about 2 or 3 years ago.
Okay.
And I started following it when one of the artists that I follow on Facebook, D Fish, was posting pages. Not pages, just, hey, look, there's a new, Giant Girl Adventures page. You should go check it out. So I would look at this, and it was just astounding to me. It was really well done. And I just admired D as an artist and as a person who I've come to know and love. And just, I would look at these in awe. And after a while, I would comment on the Facebook posts like, oh man, I love what you did with this panel and the texture you did in this and the lighting. Like, how did you achieve these effects? What did you do? And one day I get a message from the editor and writer for Giant Girl Adventures, Sabrina Pandora. Mm-hmm. And she messages me, hey, I noticed you're commenting on these pages a lot. Do you draw? Do you do sequentials? I do. Do you think you might want to send me some examples? And in my head, I'm like, oh man, somebody wants to see how I draw. I'll just roll the dice and see what happens. Mm-hmm. So I send her examples of stuff that I'm working on. I was working on another independent book, which was sci-fi and martial arts and magic, and it's Warrior Sword Pilgrim Manalix, and it's done by a guy by the name of Alex Gaiazzo. I love Alex. I forget his last name. He lives in Pennsylvania. Great guy. He's a martial artist, and he's just a really great writer. But I was working on those, so I sent her copies of those pages, copies of Second Place, and I think a few other things. And Sabrina messaged me back and said, wow, that's really great. Hey, would you be interested in drawing for me? And of course I get excited because, who asks the ugly girl to dance? So again, imposter syndrome. So I'm not thinking highly of myself, and it's something I'm working against. But Sabrina asked me if I'd be interested in drawing for her. And I said, oh, absolutely. Oh, absolutely. And she sent me a couple scripts, told me to read the scripts and, tell me what I thought of them. And one was for Danger Team, and another was for a project that she hasn't given a home yet. So I probably shouldn't mention it without her permission. But I read the scripts really quickly, and I couldn't decide because I saw merit in doing either of them. I actually had my wife read both of the scripts after I was done. And I said, hey, can you read these? Can you tell me which one you think I'd be better at? And she looked at them and she goes, you'd be better for Danger Team. You wouldn't want to be on the other project because there's a lot of things that you'd get bogged down in the details and you wouldn't produce it fast enough. She's like, Danger Team seems like it's a good fit for you because it's a superhero team and there's a lot of comedy involved. It's funny and serious and you'd be great at it. So I went back to Sabrina and I told her, I'd really be interested in Danger Team. And we discussed pay rates and we discussed page rates. And what I was told was, well, this is an independent publishing project and your page rates seem more above what I can offer you. So how about this? Plot twist. I used to be Howard Chaykin's assistant and I know how to draw comics for real. I just don't have the skill. So what if I pay you what I can pay you and give you a master level education? I couldn't say no to that.
Yeah.
So I absolutely said yes. And since then, I have not regretted it. Every page has been better than the last.
Yeah. And if you don't mind me, what are you drawing traditionally, digitally?
I'm drawing digitally.
Okay.
I did when I started drawing comics. It was traditionally.
Mm-hmm.
It was pencils, inks. I used color race pencils because, again, I grew up on animation. So different colors allowed me to separate what I was doing. And then I just went in with brush pens, Faber-Castell, Pentel Pocket Brush, Tombow, really trial and error stuff.
Yeah.
I happened to meet someone who I respect and is now my friend, Jay Fosgit, who draws Bodhi Troll.
Yes.
And he was at a convention, and I asked him to take a look at my portfolio, and he noted that my line weights were inconsistent. And he asked me what I was using. I showed him my Pentel Pocket Brush. He's like, yeah, those are a little hard to control. Here's what I use. And he put me on to Zebra brush pens, which are the tips are a little more firm.
I use them all the time. Love them.
So since then, I use those, and I use my Pentel Pocket Brush for textures and filling in large areas of blacks.
Yeah.
But I do digital. I work mostly in digital.
And just curious, since I'm mostly a digital artist these days, I just sketch. The sketch I showed her, that's kind of how I start ideas. I play on paper, then I go into the computer. But what software do you use?
Well, I initially started using Clip Studio Paint, and because it was inexpensive, and you buy it, and there are a lot of assets that you can get. You can get different brushes for free. You can get different textures. There's even like a small studio section where it's just called Clip Studio. You go in and you can ask questions, and people will answer them, and you can find shortcuts on like YouTube. But more recently, I've been supplementing it with Adobe products, the Photoshop, Illustrator, and I'm using those for manipulating textures, photos, colors. Illustrator I'm using for sound effects and any sort of logos that I need to make.
Yeah.
But Clip Studio Paint for the most part.
It's interesting because I recently left Adobe for Clip Studio for full time in that because, well, professionally I wasn't using the software like I used to. Like I have a different day job now. I'm working in art education. I'm not teaching, but I work in art education during the day. And I wasn't teaching animation anymore. I wasn't animating. I didn't need After Effects or Flash or whatever. I was drawing in Photoshop and that was it. And I was paying $50 a month to have access to all these softwares when I was using one to draw in. And I said, why am I doing this?
Not very cost effective.
I could cut back, and I've had Clip Studio Paint on my computer. I said, I know the basics of it. So I watched a few YouTube videos to brush up my skills. And when I draw the Wiz now, it's Clip Studio Paint. I showed you a drawing before we went on. That
Yep,
was
the
Clip
turnaround.
Studio Paint. Everything is done that way. And I went and I did a one-time purchase of the Affinity software,
Okay.
which they have Affinity. What is it? Design, Affinity Photo, and Affinity. What's the other one? I can't see it. Let me stop the share real quick. There's Affinity Photo, Affinity Designer, and Affinity Publisher. So it's basically Photoshop, Illustrator, and InDesign.
InDesign, yeah.
And it works kind of like a little bit older version of Photoshop and stuff. And I just need to learn some of the little, their way of doing things. But what I paid for everything, I got it on both the iPad and the desktop here. So I just use those, everything, and a one-time purchase. I don't have to keep paying monthly fees.
It's just the worst.
Yeah. But I and honestly, it was the hardest thing to do because I used Photoshop. I've been using Photoshop since '95 and teaching it since 2001.
Wow.
So I started in Photoshop, I think 3.
Oh, okay.
And have been going on. So it was like losing a friend for a little bit.
You know that you can animate in Clip Studio Paint, right?
Yes. Yeah.
I haven't done it. I know that the EX version gives you a lot more to work with, but I just haven't tried it in Clip Studio Paint.
It's okay. I played with it. I don't think I have the EX version, but I don't do too much animation anymore. And I'm loving drawing comics regularly now. And I've always drawn comics, but I love it so much more than animating at the moment that I don't want to go back to animation.
A little bit too much.
Yeah. I love that. I mean, I've always enjoyed animating.
Yeah, but the in-betweens, I'm a little old for in-betweens. Just let me draw keyframes.
I don't know. I don't mind. I don't mind any of that. Like I was one of those guys who like I could literally sit and animate for hours and it wouldn't bother me.
Really?
Okay. My God. Yeah. I love, and especially when it was character driven, when it was like a person.
Yeah.
Because I am so obsessed with the human anatomy and movement that like when I go out, I spend so much time observing people that I got to make sure I don't look creepy, but I have a little sketchbook and I'm just sitting there and I remember doing a project in school. The teacher told us to go out and observe something. And this was in college. And I went and sat in Starbucks and I observed how people stirred their coffee, so like how they held the stir.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, like there was one I saw, like I got a pencil here, and they held it like this. And I'm like, who the hell, most people, they would up and down, or they would stir, like there was different ways that they were doing. And I was like, that's fascinating to me. And things
it's such
like
a minor detail.
Yeah. And I'm like, I could throw this stuff into stories. Like I love the idea of movement. So like when I do comics now, not the Wiz, because that's mostly, I think of the Wiz almost like a stage play where it's here, but like when I do like a comic and I'm drawing, whether it's a superhero, a manga, whatever the heck it is, I'm really about how are they moving? That's that whole idea of the line of action. How does the body twist and turn? And one of the things, and the reason I look at like Toth's work a lot is because I suck at leg muscles. I've always had trouble with the muscles in the legs. So like you look at someone like Toth or Kirby, where it's like, I don't have to have great, I could just highlight, suggest a muscle,
That's what it was. Maybe there's a muscle here. I don't know. I put a shape that indicates something.
And as long as it's believable.
But they were brilliant, though. They had amazing grasps on anatomy. It's just that they had trimmed down all of the details so that they just infer it. Like it's almost Alfred Hitchcock style illustration where I'm not a creep, I'm an artist. That's not better.
Yeah.
You've been to my table, Dan. Yeah, it's not better, but yeah, it's. I'm not doing most of the work. The reader or the viewer is going to do most of the work, which
Yeah.
is what I appreciated so much about Hitchcock.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to show you this guy getting murdered. I'm going to make you think he got murdered, and you can make the murder up in your head.
Yeah. Yeah. I haven't watched the Hitchcock. I'll tell you a quick story. I went to, God, I was 16, so it was 92. We went to Disney World, and
Okay.
and back at MGM Studios, or was it Universal that they had it? There was a Psycho, like
Universal.
Universal had the Psycho show.
Yeah,
You've
because they
seen this,
had
right?
the Hitchcock. They had the Norman Bates house, right?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah.
And there was a person who comes in dressed, with the knife and the dress and everything, but so you don't see their face. They wear this black mesh thing, and I was in the front row, and the guy came up and held the knife over me like this, waving it. That first of all gave me nightmares for a little bit.
Oh.
But like I had so much trouble watching Hitchcock after that. And I loved Hitchcock movies back then. So I didn't really watch Hitchcock until my late 20s again.
Well,
It took some time for me to get over that moment. Anyway, let's get back to Giant Girl Adventures, Danger Team. Tell us about so how long have you been drawing before they went on hiatus?
From concept to the last page, I'd say about 2-3 years.
Wow, that long.
Yeah, because we built up like a nice chunk of pages, and then she recently posted them not too long ago. It was after she finished up the Giant Girl story that she was working on.
Okay.
Both her and Dee. And she told me, she said, you need to be ready. You need to be ready. Keep pushing. I need you to meet your weekly deadline. Because once Dee is finished with the current Giant Girl story, my plan is to put Danger Team in its place. And then Dee can use this time to get her buffer in place and start working on the next Giant Girl story.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm ready to go, Coach. Put me in. I want to play.
And how many? And just curious, what's your deadline, if you don't mind me asking? Is it like a page a week?
Yeah, it's page a week.
Page a week.
Page a week
not
on
too
Wednesday. But recently we introduced, we started a new segment of the story, and what's involved is a lot of research and a lot of detail. And she even told me straight up when I started the page, listen, I know you're stressing yourself to hit your deadlines. You're not going to hit this one. You're going to totally blow this one out of the water. I wouldn't be surprised if it took you 2 weeks. And I think I'm going on like week 4.
Wow.
5. Yeah, it's okay. Backgrounds. The establishing shot for the first page is 1999 New York City, Times Square, New Year's Eve.
Wow.
And then the script calls for a specific rooftop bar in 1999 that overlooks Times Square. So I had to find photo reference for all of this. And then me, because I'm like, yeah, I got to go above and beyond. I need to make this work. I'm paying too much attention to the details, too much.
Yeah.
And it's like, you're bogging yourself down. I need you to like move along and move along. Okay, now you're going to get the characters put into place. Well, you can do better on this pose. This guy needs to be this. You got the scale wrong. This one's over here. Okay, now get lighting. You get your lighting. Okay, now you need to add this effect. You add the effect. And next thing you know, 3 or 4 weeks. Because I'm like, I get too caught up in the detail, and I get like, I don't loosen up easily.
And I know you probably can't do this with the way you're working, but one of the things that I started in, because I hate backgrounds and I hate perspective. And I think that comes from me working as an animator and really just focusing on character.
Yeah.
And one of the things I do is I just look for photos in the perspective I need, and then use photo reference of like let's say the rooftop bar that you're
Okay.
talking about. You find the angle that you like in another photo, but you use the photo reference to build the scene. You know what I
Okay.
mean?
Yeah.
And then I drop that into the background on my computer, and I build the perspective out with another photo, with some, with another photo. So what if I took a photo of my studio from the corner?
Yep.
I now have this thing I could drop in, but I'm like, oh wait, no, it needs to be a spaceship. So what's going to be on the spaceship? Boom, and I kind of throw stuff together that way. That's kind of a quick method that helps me pass it on to you.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, let's see. Hold on. We got Dan says, but it looks on the spot down
I
to
bet
the
it looks spot on down to the Dan. Yeah. Bro, yes.
I mean, listen, that's good. That's a good eye for detail. I don't like to knock myself. I mean, we do it like we were talking earlier, but I again, one of the reasons I go for the less is more, because I don't want to spend all that time making it. It's believability, it's recognizability. Like you saw earlier, I have the Wiz model sheet.
Yes.
On my computer. Out before I drew that, I never drew the Wiz on model. The entire time I
Your
drew
own character. How do you not draw it on model?
because I need to get it done. So it was like, okay, does it look like him? Is it believable that he's the Wiz? Sure. Does he have the 2 little points on his beard? Yeah, that's good. That's so. Now what I do sometimes is if he just needs to stand there, I pull the model sheet and just drop him in from the model sheet.
Hey,
and then I'll be like, okay,
smarter, not harder.
What?
Work smarter, not harder.
I erase like, oh, he needs to look like his eyes are shut. So I add a little line in there or something, or erase the arm and raise it so he's holding a piece of paper. And
are they vector file? Are the
no, those are all I did them in Clip Studio, but I might have done them on a vector with a vector layer.
Because you can always lasso tool and just pivot them and treat them like paper dolls, and then draw what you need to draw over those
before I stopped animating, that's how I was building him in Adobe Animate.
The paper doll. Yeah,
like
that's
paper doll. I had him broken up into different parts, and I just never had a voice for him, which is why he never got animated.
Man.
Yeah.
Why haven't you tried voicing him yourself?
I don't think I have the right. I don't have the right voice. I don't know who I hear when I.
Okay.
I mean, like, I hear him in my head, like, and you're probably this way with your characters. They talk to you.
Yes.
Yeah.
After a while, they do.
Yeah, they tell you stuff, and I do feel like I chat with him, but I don't know the voice that's coming out of him. And I don't think I want to do like a Gandalf voice to him or anything.
No.
In the story,
he's not a Gandalf character.
He also hates Gandalf in the comics, so that's part of.
It's more like a Tommy Chong looking character, but
more
relaxed. Not
I never thought of that. I never thought of that. I did think a friend of mine is Marty Grabstein, is the voice of Courage the Cowardly Dog. Sometimes if you've ever met Marty, he sounds like this, and he's all the time talking like, hey, I'm Marty Grabstein, and sometimes I think maybe I should just do Marty's voice for him.
Good nerd.
But I don't want to, be rude to my friend,
No, ask him for permission first.
Make him think I'm making fun of him or something.
I don't think he would. He'd probably think it was a professional courtesy.
I did it in front of him once, that voice.
Did he get upset?
Oh, we had a Marty off. My friend's it's a girlfriend. She's like, will you do an impression of Marty? And I'm like, shut up,
No.
And he's like, let me hear you. And so I did it, and he was like, oh, and then he started doing it, and we just kind of went back and forth. Marty's a good guy. If you ever get a chance to meet him, you'll love him. He's one of the best. Anyway, back to this. We sidetracked too much here on my show.
We're all Gen Xers. It's what we do.
but it's great. And I love this stuff. And I keep looking back here at your work, and, you know, I'm really impressed, you know, by the expressions, the movement that you got in some of these poses here. Your foreshortening, like everything just works well. You know how I said I can point out everything that I you know, little things.
Yeah.
There's, I mean, you know, on the important scenes, I can't point anything out. You're hitting everything you need to make that panel readable.
It's
And
all my editor, man. That's all
what?
Sabrina.
Yeah,
All
I mean,
Sabrina telling me you need to do this because this is the result you'll get, and this is what's going to happen.
oh, you know,
I absorb lessons like that.
she needs to do her own Gumroad lesson or something.
From your lips to her ears.
Introduce us. I'll get her to do it.
If I can show my hand a little bit, that's what she's thinking of doing, and I'm the guinea pig for it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Listen, I would probably buy it just to watch for fun. Like a lot of the stuff I do during the day, you know, a lot of people listen to podcasts. A lot of people, I don't listen to podcasts too much anymore, which I have to apologize for all my friends watching who have a podcast. I am so behind on your podcasts because I watch artists draw. I'll go online and watch, like, on YouTube, but like people giving lessons. I don't need a lesson on how to draw a character, but I just love watching and hearing people's thought processes.
Yeah.
As they draw, or here's how you write a story, whether it's a comic story or here's how you write a prose or something. Like, I like to hear people's thoughts on their process. You know, so I tend to one of my favorite artists to watch is Stephen Rood. I watch Steve Rood. I love his stuff.
Rood, another influence.
Yeah, I mean, I just put away the other day. I was rereading, was it from '89, his World's Finest story, which is probably my favorite Steve Rood. I don't know why I keep calling him Steve Rood book. I'll watch him a lot. I love that he does his live things, I think, on Saturdays, and I don't watch it live. I just wait until I have to do something. And, you know, he's great. There's this other guy I follow on Instagram, Tom something. Tom, is it Politi? I think is how you.
Polito?
I think it's. Hold on. I'm going to look him up right now. And I will share the screen and show you. This guy. Thomas. Is it Pitilli? I guess it's
Pitilli.
Pitilli? Okay.
Yeah.
I'm bad.
Oh.
This guy's work, I mean, this is his Inktober stuff right now, a lot of this. I know he's done work for like Archie and some stuff, but
wow,
I'm really impressed by what he does. And his whole thing for Inktober, by the way, is 90s comic books. So like you look here, and I got to write to him. I want to get him on the show and talk to him. Long-haired Superman. How do you not love that? Freaking here, Tom Strong.
Oh, yeah, that was one of the first ones I saw when you.
And I picked up. I don't know if I put it away already. I just bought off eBay an old Tom Strong trade. Like, I love this stuff, and I love his work a lot. Like, I do want to reach out to get him on the show, but and that's him right there. But I mean, you just look at the stuff that he does, and he does everything. Everything. I love it so much. But his YouTube videos are very positive, very, hey, you know what? don't be afraid to draw in your sketchbook type of thing. You know, I know a lot of people buy these nice, shiny looking sketchbooks, but this is why, you know, and he's like, just mess up the first page. Don't worry. So you don't feel everything has to be really nice pieces of art all the time. Like, he gives really good advice, and he'll do these, Steve Root, who we just mentioned. He has his book on, you know, the drawing of the animated Nexus, which
Cool.
I have
Yeah.
somewhere here too. I think this is it right here. So I bought this. Ooh, I just knocked over all my pencils. I bought this a while ago from Steve's website, and what I like about it, here, let me just stop the presentation. I don't know if you've ever seen this book.
I don't think I have.
But you
I
get.
know it was proposed that they were going to do a Nexus animated.
Yeah, it's like his dream and stuff. But like when you go into it, it's these beautiful pieces that he did, and then like you go in and here, not this. Let's do a different page here. I think, like here, this is the breakdown of how you would draw the man and the woman. Now, if you know anything about Steve, he's highly influenced by like Toth's Space Ghost and those type of shows. So this is like looking almost at how Toth did stuff, you know, because later on when you go into his model sheets here, not these, maybe supporting character type of things here, it almost looks like a Toth model sheet, you know.
Oh, almost
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, so it's like, you know, then here's another one down here of the breakdown. Like, it's he really, you know, is passionate about that work and stuff. So I love Toth, as I've mentioned a bunch of times on here. I love Steve's work, and I'm influenced by both, you know, and I'm like, I'd love to, again, how does his process work? Let me see it on paper.
Why did you put those lines that way?
Yeah, and I sit and study that stuff. But Tom made a YouTube video on it, and he bought the book, and he was like, look at this, and he explains stuff about how, and he draws from the book and draws one of the cat. Like, I've done it myself. I have saved files somewhere on this computer that I was sketching while looking at the book. But Tom does it differently. You know, not differently, but he, you know, he's a good, he's just a really good, positive person.
Yeah.
You know, in the way of comics like that. And I think, you know, first of all, he'd be a great guest, but I think a lot of people, you know, should be following him, should be looking. His work is great. And I just found out today, watching an older video of his, he has a $2 Gumroad video up, because I looked it up on Gumroad, on how to put a panel together. Just, he focuses on one panel. It's a 20-minute video, and he talks about a bunch of stuff. So even though I watch all his YouTube videos, I may drop $2 just to watch a 20-minute video of his. I mean, $2 isn't a lot. And just because, again, I want to hear, I like to hear the process. I like to hear the thoughts of people, you know?
No, exactly.
Yeah. How are we doing here? Oh, wow. We've been on for an hour and a half talking almost here. This is great. I'm sorry. You don't have to go anytime soon, do you?
I mean, not right now, but
okay. I just want to make sure, because we haven't
gonna be at work tomorrow.
Don't worry, we'll get you there. I won't keep you much longer. Sorry, I've just been enjoying our conversation here.
Yeah.
But I'm sorry. Why am I looking at Tom's page? I thought I was on your page for a second.
No, if you want to confuse us, I'll take a compliment.
No, but one of the things, and like I said in the beginning of the show, one of the things that really intrigued me about you was your recent positive. I don't want to say it's recent positive, but how positive you've been on your TikTok videos, and how you've been talking about, the Marvel thing and thing. Hold on, I just want to go on to one comment. He says that's almost a How to Draw a Comic. It's the Marvel Way vibe, which I love that book too. I mean, there are some people who say never look at it. Other people say it's the best book you'll ever get. But
I think how to Draw Comics the Marvel Way teaches you how to do things, but like the Scott Adams and the Will Eisner books, they teach you why to do things.
The Eisner books, I actually used to tell my students to buy because we couldn't. I used to teach a visual storytelling class. I taught it for maybe 14, 15 years. When I started, it was another class, and I'm like, no, this class is pointless, basically. Can we turn it into this? And I created a visual storytelling class for the school I worked for. And then over the years, it got changed between me and other instructors, and we did stuff. But the book I wanted as the textbook was it which of the two? I forgot there's graphic storytelling and what was the other book? Was it visual storytelling? I have
it was graphic storytelling, and then there was another one he did, but it was
comic based, I think, right?
Yeah, but it was almost the exact same thing but reworded.
Yeah. I have both books, but I wanted them to do graphic storytelling, and the school wouldn't let it be because I think it was related to comics, and schools are kind of nah. When I told them, I said, when I took editing, when I studied Adobe Premiere in 1995 or 96, my textbook was Understanding Comics by Scott McCloud.
Yeah. He's got like a whole series of those.
Yeah, those are great books. But anyway, let's get back to, so I don't keep you much longer. Let's get back to your TikTok post. So you've been posting a lot on TikTok recently, I would say, right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
And when you talk, what I like about your videos is like I said, it's the positivity, the advice you give, the talking about what you're doing, and it's funny and the reason, like I said, because this is the thing, it's funny when you talk to artists or when artists talk to you, whether it's just through a video. Not every artist is a nice guy.
No,
but
honestly, those guys.
Yeah, I'll tell you another quick story. When I was 16, I showed my portfolio to an artist I was a big fan of. He ripped me a new one.
You're 16.
I was 16. Nothing positive in my portfolio. I talked to another artist who saw me get ripped, and he gave me the advice I needed to get better. But what was funny was many, many years later, I met the guy at another convention, the one who tore me apart, with a friend of mine who's friends with him, and introduced me to him. And the guy would never remember me. And I'm like,
of course,
yeah, no, I'm familiar with your work and whatever. And my friend's like, you got to show him your cartoony stuff. He loves cartoony stuff because he doesn't draw it. He draws like realistic, like great muscles and all. And he follows me now on Instagram, and every now and then there's a like on my on my cartoony stuff by him, and I will just crack up laughing every time I see his little like. I'll never say who the artist was.
You wouldn't do that.
But yeah, it just makes me laugh. And how nice of a guy he was when he met me on the professional level. But this is the thing. The other artist who gave me the good advice, this is what he told me. He goes, some artists see your potential and want to knock you so you don't become their competition.
Weak.
Yeah, that's
weak.
That's what he told me. And I'm not saying it's true, but I took that advice. And when I became a teacher, I made sure that I would never hold back anything from a student. I'd be as polite as I can to tell them when things are incorrect. And if I have to be a bit of a jerk, I'll be a jerk, but I'll always make sure that I don't hide any of my secrets on how I do things.
Yeah.
I just share that because that's what you should do, in my opinion.
Yeah. No, I agree with that.
But I feel like when I look at your TikToks and your posts and the positivity, like what gives you that positive? Because there are days like I looked at your when you mentioned the thing about, hey, listen, I'm going to a convention to talk to someone from Marvel, and it's like, we'll see what happens, but hey, things are looking good. And then, hey, I talked to someone. I was literally like in a bad mood that day. It was early morning when I looked at it. I was exhausted. My cat was being a jerk, where I was like, can you just shut up and let me have my cup of coffee and scroll through? Just, I need a moment, that was what was going on. And then I get to, and I was like, wow, that is just so good. Like, good for you. I was happy for you. And your positivity just was like, that's really, he's like, I don't know where it's going to go, but listen, let's find out. And I did it. And I'm like, that is awesome. So is that your personality all the time? Or is that like when you're like just talk? I'm not saying you're putting on a fake personality, but
no.
Usually
I know what you're saying.
A very positive person like that.
I gotta formulate this answer. I just have to. It has to buffer first. Yeah. I have been through a lot of bad situations and experienced a lot of bad feelings and experienced a lot of bad happenings. So I realized that there are scarier, more painful, more emotionally scarring things out there than being afraid to put a line down on a page, or being afraid to go shake hands with someone that you admire artistically or personally or professionally.
Yeah.
And I realized that, and honestly, in my opinion, TikTok is the perfect place to do this, because that's all people make their bread and butter on TikTok doing, is just manufacturing conflict. That's all they do. That's the videos that get the most views. You're going to see like, oh, the cops tased this guy, or these people are arguing at a Dunkin' Donuts, or
I watch all of them.
Yeah, let me tell you about the time that this girl stole $300 from me. Like, it's all manufactured conflict. But if I can go against that, I don't even care how many viewers I get. I know that I'm putting out into the world what I would want to see, what I would want to have happen for me.
Yeah.
So having experienced all this stuff and just knowing the dark side of things, why would I do that? And so in summation, because I feel like I'm giving the Gettysburg Address here, am I like that all the time?
Oh, and you he froze again. Always on the important questions. I am sorry, guys. And I'm sure it's a great answer he's given, and he's like, "Oh, well, that's it for me for tonight."
It's like 10:30 at night. Why should the internet be frozen?
I don't know. You said.
There we go.
Yeah.
Okay, where did I leave off?
You didn't even give me your read. You're just like, I don't even remember what you said, but you were about to explain it.
Oh, am I like that all the time? I'd be lying if I said yes. There are times where I'm really upset, or I'm really just down on myself and negative, but every day I try to be positive, because it ain't that bad.
Yeah.
It ain't. You know what the prize is for life? Death. That's what the prize is.
Yeah.
At the end of everything, we're going to die.
Yeah,
so why do I have to be miserable about stuff? Things could be so much worse. I'm just going to draw cartoons. That's what I tell people all the time. When things get aggravating, I just tell them, bro, I just want to be in my underwear drawing cartoons right now.
Yeah.
That's all.
That's the dream.
It seems to diffuse the situation.
Yeah.
Of course, I'm the catalyst at the beginning of the day when everybody hasn't had their coffee, and I
Yeah.
show up to work and I'm like, "Hey guys, how's it going? It's going to be the best day ever." And they hate when I say that at work.
I would hate you too. I,
But it's all tongue in cheek. It's like,
no, I get it.
it's going to suck, but guess what? It's going to be the best day ever.
Yeah. Yeah, it's one of those things like, yeah, it's gonna suck. You sure? I'm positive,
Yeah.
and that's where the positivity comes from. Yeah, that negative positivity.
And I mean, as it pertains to me drawing, it's like I've always wanted to know these things. Where was a guy like me when I was growing up? I was like, "Hey guys, I just found this thing out," or "I know this thing, and this is the principle it's based on, and this is why you should do it, and this is how you could probably do it a little better."
Yeah,
Like, just nobody wants a gatekeeper or a key holder. Nobody wants those people. They just and you had mentioned competition. You had mentioned competition. I mean, is in my perspective, artistically, there are many different likes and dislikes. You know, people just have different tastes.
that's what I tell people all the time.
No, who is my competition? I'm out there for the people that like Ed Smith's work.
Yeah.
And okay, great. You do things your way. So your fans like you. I'm not competing with you. Good luck, man. Do your thing.
Dude, you sound like me when I talk to the students. I always tell them I'm my own competition. I always want to make the next thing better than I made before. That's it.
Exactly. Next page is going to be better than this last one.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, listen, you sound a lot like me. I've went through a lot of hard stuff in life too. And I will say most of my stuff's medical. And it's given me a crap ton of issues. But after dealing with everything, I've come down to, and I won't curse on here. I don't curse, but basically my philosophy is F it. If I could only control what I could control, like you said, if I want to, why are you scared to go up and shake someone's hand or whatever? That's it. If I don't shake that person's hand and say hi and introduce myself, it'll never happen, and I stopped it. That I can control. Anything outside of my control, F it, and like my wife tells me like, oh, she goes, you're so zen half the time, but it's
what do I need to get upset for?
Yeah, well, that's the thing. It's like, why am I going to let this stuff bother me? There are things that are going to bother me. My cat meows at 4 a.m. and next to my head to feed him. Yeah, that's going to piss me off because I know I'm going to walk into a wall or trip over something. But and then it's going to take me a bit to get back to bed because that's when I'm cursing. And, driving in New York, always a reason for anger and cursing. But, yeah, that's the thing. I let everything go. And it's like, as long as I'm drawing, and that's the thing. As long as I could draw, I should not have to worry about anything. That's how I look at it. Because my work, whether it's for me or to put out into the world, it's about happiness. It's about escaping from reality, whatever's up here, or
That's So what are we on? 1 hour, 40 minutes. So I can get into what my next project I plan on doing is.
Yeah, tell me. I was going to ask you because we're going to wrap up. I was going to ask you if there was anything else.
It's something I keep mentioning. I've been mentioning for years now. Yeah. It's Skies Over Gutenberg. It's I don't tell too many people about this portion of it because it's too much of the internal mechanism of what the actual book is.
Mm-hmm.
The elevator pitch is that it's about a kid, always wanted to be a superhero, lived outside of a town that was full of superheroes. He kept looking in, and his mom kept telling him he couldn't be a superhero. And she passed away. He decided he's going to go to the city, and he's going to learn how to be a superhero. He wants to follow his dream. Well, the internal mechanism is that it's an allegory about my insecurities for becoming a comic book artist. Now, my mom never stopped me. In fact, my mom encouraged me, and she started me on the path. But the storylines that I'll have for Skies Over Gutenberg are going to be part fact, part fiction, but the entire overall goal is to inspire people to follow their dreams, and to, no matter how tough things get, just keep following your dreams. Like, just, things are going to get bad.
Yeah.
Don't give up.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. And when it's ready to start showing it to the world, you're coming back to on here to talk about it. But
I recently, while I was talking to that the Marvel guy, is, I find it's almost insulting to refer to him as the Marvel guy, but I don't want to give away his. Anyway,
no, I get it.
He had mentioned to me, you just really great. You work digitally, clearly. This isn't really a house style. This isn't something we do, but you'd be more slated for vertical scrolling web comics. And it just kind of like a light went off in my head. And I was like, I was going to use a business model of doing online strips and then doing print on demand. But if I do something like Lore Olympus or Gwendy and the Ghost or Katie Cook's Nothing Special, if I do something like that where it's a vertical scroller and I just make it an epic story, and then when it's all said and done and I got a season, I can sell a book.
Yeah. That's a plan for one of my stories I'm hoping to have out by the end of 2025. The way I plan to draw it is actually as a comic page, but I plan to break it up to turn into vertical scrolls.
Yeah.
That's the plan. Back in the 90s, let me see if I can find it. I was known for this guy, Plunger Pup, a dog who fought crime with a magic plunger. And it's basically, think Hal Jordan meets Luke Skywalker as the character.
Okay.
And it, oh shit! Oops, sorry, I didn't mean to curse on air. It has two covers. I didn't realize it got printed with a double cover. That's still worth nothing. But yeah, no, a lot of people have asked me to bring him back, and I love the character. And when I originally did him, I did 3 issues, and I was on the 4th, which I was forming a team, which I published, and the story was supposed to be 20 issues. That's how I planned it out.
Okay.
Never, life happens, and indie guy, money, whatever. So I'm like, now with webcomics and the idea of things like webtoons and the vertical scroll, I'm like, he might work out very well for that method. And but I still want to put him in print, so I got to make sure I draw it as a print, as a print book first. And I'm like, then I got to cut it up to turn it into a vertical scroll.
Yeah, I always wonder about the production end of things. Like, how do those vertical scrolling web strips, how do they get formatted to fit into, like a left to right regular print book?
Yeah, I don't know. That's something maybe for another YouTube video for me to watch.
Yeah.
Process. I love process videos about things. It's just
same.
Doesn't even have to be about art. I just go to art because that's what I love.
There used to be like articles in the early Draw magazine. I don't know if you know that.
Yeah.
Like the Two Morals Publishing.
Yeah.
There were processes where there were actual professional comic book artists that were like, hey, this is what I do when I work on a page. And then if you were into digital stuff, there were other artists that were like, I'm going to show you how I did this digital illustration. And man, I think I still have a stack of them around here somewhere. I don't have every issue, but I've got the more important ones.
That's how I got a bunch in my closet of the Draw and some of the Right Now. But I do have the 3 collection of the best of Draw, the 3 book collection of that. But yeah, I mean, listen, I got so much crap in here.
It's not crap. It's
reference material. I shouldn't call it crap. I always tell my wife it's not crap, but yeah, I look around and I'm like, yeah, I got a lot of stuff, and and then there's also, what is that magazine that's out now? Is it Creative something, or it's a European magazine, sell for like $25 in like Barnes and Noble.
Really?
Yeah, I gotta give me a second. I know I have a few around here. Um, oh, Imagine FX.
Oh, okay.
So like I'll read those, or I used to read them a lot more regularly.
Yep.
And when if I see an artist that I like in there, maybe an artist I follow, or if it's just something like really cool, I think I'll still buy that, but I don't buy it as often as I used to anymore because $30 for a magazine on how-tos, or just, hey, check out this person's studio or whatever, and I'm like, yeah, they have a much cooler setup than I do. Look at all the room they have. It's, but yeah, so I don't look at that. And not that I don't look, but I read those. I used to read those regularly. But yeah, it was just like the draw stuff. They have comics, they have stuff on manga there, but a lot of it is like character design and background art and game art. It's almost like it's more of an entertainment industry how-to magazine. Yeah. So I don't know if you've ever seen those, but they're good. They're good stuff. But yeah. Anyway, I think I lost my train of thought after getting up here, but yeah, where were we? Can you remind me?
We were talking about Skies Over Gutenberg.
Yes.
And
go ahead.
I mentioned the vertical scrolling web.
Yes,
strip.
That's how we sidetracked the vertical scrolling. But yeah, no, listen, that comic sounds great. It does. I'm really, you know what? Let me go back to your page here and stop looking at Tom's when I turn my head. No, but I'm really I really like what you're doing.
Thank you.
It's one of those things where like I've known who you are for a long time. I've seen your work.
Wow.
Well,
okay.
we've been connected. It has to be at least 3 years on Facebook now, maybe longer, at least. So I'm familiar with your work. I know who you are, but due to algorithm stuff, whether it's on Facebook or Instagram,
you're absolutely right.
We disappear from my thoughts, and it's like, well, and then every now and then it's like, gee, I wonder what was that name of that artist, and this happens to me with a lot of people.
The problem is I just have to be more belligerent online. That's what it is. I just have to draw foul attention to myself, and then I'll rise to the top.
Yeah, that's how it works. But yeah, it's one of those. And then when I saw your TikTok, I'm like, geez, man, I totally forgot about the work you're putting on. Let me see what you're doing now. And then I just kind of been on your page on and off for the last few days looking at it, and I'm like, this is really good stuff.
I really appreciate that.
And I'm like, why ain't I seeing more of this? And I need to make sure to go to your page more so that you come into my feed more often. Hold on, let's just see. We got a couple more Dan comments here. So he says, I actually found out about Ed's work because he's such a fun person to talk to at a con. So don't discount the effect of the positive. Yeah, no, listen, it's great. When I do shows, and I'll tell you, I used to run kids sections at shows.
Oh, okay.
So when you would come, if you one of the things I would do is me and my friend who ran them, we would bring artists, but we would make sure that every artist we bring can do a workshop.
Okay.
So we would provide workshops at the shows, educational things where it was like, but it was like, okay, here's how to draw superheroes, or, here's, I don't know, whatever, how to draw dynamic characters, or, draw My Little Pony, or whatever it is. It was whatever, if there was a certain celebrity going to be at the show, or like this year it was, the 40th anniversary of the Ninja Turtles. So if we did a section, would be how to draw Ninja Turtles,
So did I show up in your feed for that 40th anniversary of?
I don't remember.
So a couple of weeks ago at Granite State Comic-Con, because the Ninja Turtles were conceived in Dover, New Hampshire.
Yeah.
So they had Kevin Eastman and a slew of the Ninja Turtles artists.
Yes, yes, I remember
Mike
seeing.
Ruth, Ben Bishop,
Yeah,
Steve Levine, Tom Lawson,
yeah,
Sarah Meyer. I could just go on.
yeah, yeah.
Well, I know the guys that coordinate that show. I've been a fan of theirs ever since they opened up the local comic book shop 20 plus years ago.
Yeah.
And I told them last year, I didn't know this was going to happen, but I told them last year, like, guys, I'm trying to get more visibility. I want to do your badges for next year.
Yeah.
And I was told, yeah, we'll talk about this, which is like, I've got a bunch to do. We're friends. We'll get in touch over
Yeah.
the year. I get contacted a couple of months out and they're like, hey, it's 40th anniversary of the Ninja Turtles. We need about 8 or 9 Ninja Turtles themed badges from you. So I said, all right, well, what were you thinking? Okay, well, we want 3 versions of each of the characters we're going to suggest to you. We want the original Kevin Eastman, Peter Laird version. We want the 80s cartoon version. And we want the 90s Ninja Turtles movie version.
Okay.
3 versions on a bed. Yeah, okay, I can do that. So I knock out 8, and the 9th badge was basically Kevin Eastman's artwork for the Ninja Turtles, because that was part of a Turtles themed VIP package. So I wound up doing all 8 of these badges, which I have actually on my desk here. And what I did was for the Turtles, I took a city skyline and I broke it into 4 pieces. So when you get all 4 of the Turtles badges and put them together, like they make a skyline. There's Mikey.
Oh wow, nice.
There's Raph.
Yep.
Here we go. I love this. It's Don, but I put the turtle blimp in the badge. And it's Leo.
Those are great.
Thank you. I did them all digitally, of course, but
yeah,
you line them all up, and I'm so proud.
Yeah, no, dude, that's fantastic. You know, I remember, I don't remember what year it came out, but I think it was in the 80s. It was the How to Draw the Ninja Turtles like comic book thing.
That had to be some of Steve's stuff.
Oh,
it had to be.
I used to draw out of that so much.
Oh, man.
I was such a big Ninja Turtle fan. Like, I mean, I still am. I don't really read the comics anymore, but although I did pick up the new one that just came out, I need to.
The Last Ronin, or
no? Actually, the Last Ronin. I bought the trade recently because, and this is sad, my local comic shop went out of business.
Oh man!
And went out of business twice actually, and then the one that was becoming my new shop just went out of business as well. So I don't have a local shop near me right now. I'll have to like, if I really want to go, I have to drive into like New York City or Long Island.
There's an app.
Yeah, no, I know.
Them and they'll just send them to you. It's like a digital hold box, and
yeah, I have to look into that. But yeah, anyway, there's these are all my new books I have to read from the last comic shop I found and went into. Some are actually things people sent to me here.
He's got a stack.
Well, I want to, I don't really read floppies too much anymore.
I don't think anybody does. Market research
I would love to.
Floppies are on the way out.
I would love to. I love them. But I just, sometimes I'll pick up like floppies and be like, okay, this is good. I'll wait for the trade and, just see what's going on. But this came out, I would say a month or so ago. It's a new story arc.
Who is that? I know that. I've seen that cover. I think I know the artist. Is that Bob Thackick or Thasic? I've never asked him how to pronounce his name.
Not that the signature looks on. Let's see. Does it say who the cover artist is? Script, colors, art, letters, assistant. Maybe they'll have the artist. No.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
I know. It's
curiosity.
It's.
I can research it.
Yeah, no, I'll figure it out, and it's probably like on the back here. So this had to come out in August. Oh no, July. It says on sale July 24th in here. I'd have to read it to find the cover. Anyway, no big deal. But it's on. It's it's in my list. I want to see what the new story is, and if it's good, I'll be like, okay, it's worth waiting for a trade. And and I actually prefer, unfortunately, I love floppies, but I prefer to read in trade form now. Um, just because I don't have time to wait and go. I like to just read the whole story arc in one sitting. Well,
No, I totally get it.
yeah, and I blame streaming television where I binge.
Same.
I used to have no problem. Every week I'm going to the comic shop here. Back in the 90s, it was like $20 a week. I got everything I needed. Now it's like 50 if you go to a comic shop for that, but for the same amount of books. But yeah. Anyway, listen, we've been talking a lot. I don't want to keep you. We're almost at the 2-hour mark.
Okay.
I'm thoroughly enjoying chatting with you here, and I know
Thanks.
I could go a little longer. I don't fall asleep till 2 a.m. anyway. My day job's on Pacific time, so my body kind of is
right.
on Pacific.
You're on Pacific time too.
I work. My daytime hours are 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. So
Okay.
it's my cat's not, unfortunately.
Well, he's nocturnal,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah. Well,
Plus, he wants to watch you walk into walls and swear at him.
oh my God, you have no idea. Listen. I love that cat to death, but he is.
You know what comic you're going to want to check out though?
What?
Because we're both Gen Xers. Mad Cave is doing Battle of the Planets.
I already have read the first 2 issues.
Is Chris Batista not killing that book?
Oh my God! He was just posting a page. Was it yesterday too? And I commented on it.
Yep.
I got to get him on here because.
Yeah.
God, I don't even know if Chris would remember. We met many years ago, like many years ago. But yeah, no, that it's like watching the show,
right?
In style. The story, it's good, but it's not like the cartoon that we had. But I see they're building up something very interesting.
Yeah.
And I'm like, if there's a book I'm going to buy in floppies, it's going to be that.
That's the one.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm really a dork. So like, if I know a book's coming out and there's a variant cover that's a sketch cover, I'm buying it. I'm buying at least 2 of those sketch covers, and I'm going to just do something on those covers, when inspiration and timing work out. But yeah. I've got 2 blank Battle of the Planet sketch covers that I'm like, I can't wait to defile this.
Oh, I love that art so much. I go back, like I told you, I'm working on a manga right now.
Yep.
And the idea though is paying tribute to the manga of like the 60s, 70s, and early 80s. Oh, so like when I draw, I'm looking at all those old shows. I'm looking at all those old books. So like the eyes, when I draw like the manga style eyes, it looks like something, from that era. And and I'm not like, and people look at it and like, it's good, but it's not what they're known for, like looking at today. And I'm like, dude, you don't get it. Like to me, this, it is so good. And I'll say this for one of the stories, which I've said, I think, on the show before. It's a typical manga. It's a kid fighting kaiju. It's a superpowered kid fighting kaiju. That's what it is. I just wanted to do a monster story for my love of like monsters and like Godzilla and stuff. And I'm like, I came up with this idea watching something that was from that era, just really like clicked it. And and I just, I don't know. It's like, but manga storytelling is different than American storytelling. So when I look at it, I'm like, do I just draw it in the manga style and tell it like a Western comic, or do I like really go and write it in manga format? Because that's a whole other way to think. in storytelling. And anyway, enough about us right now. And
Yeah,
we have had a great time. I want to thank you for, or at least I've had a great time. I hope you did too.
Of course I have. You let me talk about myself. I get to talk about cartoons and comics, and how's it not a good time?
I listen. It was a lot of fun.
I get to hear about your cat making you walk into the wall.
I can tell you stories about that cat. He does a lot of other things to me too. I again love him to death. But he's more my wife's cat too. That's the other problem. He just comes to me when he doesn't want when he wants, things in the middle of the night. She gets to sleep. So, but anyway, can't complain anymore about that. Let me let you go. Thank you for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, anytime. Listen, you're welcome back anytime. Your Instagram is Lizard of Doom Studios.
Yep.
All one word, Lizard of Doom Studios. You have a Facebook page by the same name, which I need to follow. Yeah. Thanks again. I really appreciate learning more about you, learning about your work, what you're working on. I got to go back and read the beginning of your Danger Team. Maybe I'll go back and even read the Giant Girl story first. I don't know.
You got to pay attention to the background, because I can be sarcastic, and I like to stick stuff in the background that is either funny or it alludes to something that's going to happen later on in the book.
Yeah. All right. I will definitely look into that. So with that, thank you for coming on.
Not a problem. Not a problem.
It was a fun time talking. You guys go check out. It is giantgirladventures.com, and you started on Danger Team.
Danger Team,
which is an issue. Is it issue 19 of Danger Team?
It's issue 19 of Giant Girl.
Of Giant Girl.
Yeah.
But Danger Team is within the Giant Girl world.
Yeah, it's a spin-off of Giant Girl.
Yeah. Okay.
And this is issue 1 of the Danger Team, but issue 19 of Giant Girl.
Okay. All right. And you're coming back November 1st. Yes, Dan, thank you for tuning in. You're coming back November 1st, you said, with new pages.
Yes, new pages. Yep.
So that's not far away.
The stretch that I'm working on, and November 1st.
Awesome. So, yeah, I mean, that's not far away. That's giantgirladventures.com.
Yep.
Lizard of Doom Studios on both Facebook and Instagram.
Yes, sir.
And, you guys, thanks again for watching whenever you do and wherever you are. I really appreciate the views. If you haven't, please, subscribe to the YouTube page, like the Facebook page, do it all. And I'll be back next week with another artist. I'd have to look up who it is right now. I don't remember off the top of my head. But yeah, no, great indie artist. I'm sorry, great indie comic that we're going to be talking about next week. I do remember that. Well,
now you got me interested. Who's coming on next week?
Hold on, let me pull out my calendar here. Google Drive calendar. Next week his name is Jed Hartland, and that's all I have in my calendar. I'll have to go on my email to find out more. But Jed Hartland comes on next week. And then the following week is Zach Taylor.
Oh.
And then on the 30th, I don't have the guest booked officially yet, but I'm trying to get a horror writer to come on the show to talk, since it's the day before Halloween. Yeah, so I want to get a horror writer on, and I know the writer that I want to get on. I've known him for a little bit.
Is it Joe Hill?
No.
No.
But
we don't have Joe Hill money around here.
No. And it's funny too, because he's an indie writer. So I don't know how much you know about the show, but the show really is about promoting indie artists.
Oh yeah.
Sometimes I bring on people who have a bit of a bigger name, but it's really about indie artists, and I want to bring indie work to the world. So he's an indie horror writer. He's not popular yet, but he has some titles under his belt.
Those
All
are
right.
the best.
All right. So yeah, tune in next week for Jed Hartland. The ad should be out tomorrow or Friday, so pay attention to my social medias, which you got right there. Mike at Michael Gracio and at the Wiz Comic on Facebook and Instagram. Every Wednesday by 9 a.m. a new Wiz strip is posted. Check out today's if you haven't. I think it's hysterical. It made me laugh, made my wife laugh, made about 4 reactions on on Facebook laugh. Oh, there was more reactions. I'm just saying, there was like 4 people who laughed at.
So now I'm gonna have to go and read the strip.
Go check it out. All right, guys. Thanks again for watching. Ed, thanks again for coming on.
Not a problem.
And
Anytime.
I will see you all next week if I can find my mouse to end this. There we go. And